Celtic Twilight by W.B. Yeats. A Night of the Sheep. So in the tarot, is that going to be a prince or a king, as Crowley would say? Or do you say page, knight, king? So page would be the prince. Knight would be the prince. And sheep. I'm thinking sheep's gotta be the pentacles or disc or whatever you want to call the earth sign. But let's see. Away to the north of Ben Bulben and Copse Mountain lives a strong farmer, a knight of the sheep they would have called him in the Gallic days. Proud of his descent from one of the most fighting clans of the Middle Ages, he is a man of force, alike in his words and in his deeds. There is but one man that swears like him, and this man lives far away from the mountains. Father in heaven, what have I done to deserve this, he says, when he has lost his pipe, and no man but he who lives on the mountain can rival his language on a fair day over a bargain. He is passionate and abrupt in his movements, and when angry, tosses his white beard about with his left hand. Well, that's a way to keep it from growing too long, because if you're playing with your beard too much, it's... But we're obviously talking about what Crowley called the Knight of Discs. One day, I was dining with him when the servant maid announced a certain Mr. O'Donnell. A sudden silence fell upon the old man and upon his two daughters. At last the eldest daughter said somewhat severely to her father, "Go and ask him to come in and dine." The old man went out, and then came in looking greatly relieved, and said, "He says he will not dine with us." "Go out," said the daughter, "and ask him into the back parlor, and give him some whiskey." People keep getting people drunk in these stories, don't they? Her father, who had just finished his dinner, obeyed sullenly, and I heard the door of the back parlor, a little room where the daughters sat and sewed during the evening, shut behind the men. The daughter then turned to me and said, "Mr. O'Donnell is the tax gatherer, and last year he raised our taxes, and my father was very angry, and when he came, brought him into the dairy, and sent the dairy woman away on a message, and then swore to him a great deal." "I will teach you, sir," O'Donnell replied, "that the law can protect its officers." But my father reminded him that he had no witness. At last, my father got tired and sorry too, and said he would show him a short way home. When they were halfway to the main road, they came on a man of my father's who was plowing, and this somehow brought back remembrance of the wrong. He sent the man away on a message and begun to swear at the tax gatherer again. When I heard of it, I was disgusted that he should have made such a fuss over a miserable creature like O'Donnell. And when I heard a few weeks ago that O'Donnell's only son had died and left him heartbroken, I resolved to make my father be kind to him next time he came. Now that it is the age of Aquarius, the Aries should be seen as a cardinal fire. A cardinal earth. The cardinal fire is now Capricorn. But that's not really much of a point, but that's just one of the things I'm thinking with this. But we're reminded of the political situations and stuff going on right now, is On one hand, yes, we need to protect the officers of the law. And on the other hand, it's gotten too far. He said, she said, oh, a police officer says so, therefore, no. Whoever makes the accusation, whoever the accused is, whatever, let's treat these things as equal and disregard their status in society and say, let's find out the truth. She then went out to see a neighbor, and I sauntered towards the back parlor. When I came to the door, I heard angry voices inside. The two men were evidently getting on to the tacks again, for I could hear them bandying figures to and fro. I opened the door at sight of my face, and the farmer was reminded of his peaceful intentions and asked me if I knew where the whiskey was. I had seen him put it into the cupboard, and was able, therefore, to find it and get it out. Looking at the thin, grief-stricken face of the tax-gatherer, he is rather older than my friend, and very much more feeble and worn, and of a very different type. He was not like him, a robust, successful man, but rather one of those whose feet find no resting place upon the earth. I recognized one of the children of Reverie, and said, you were doubtless of the stock of the old O'Donnells. I know well the hole in the river, where the treasure lies buried under the guard of a serpent with many heads. Yes, sir, he replied, I am the last of a line of princes. So again, we see we're referring to a first class individual. We see then to talking of many commonplace things, and my friend did not once toss up his beard, but was very friendly. At last, the gaunt old tax-gatherer got up to go, and my friend said, I hope we will have a glass together next year. No, no, was the answer. I shall be dead next year. I too have lost sons, said the other in quite a gentle voice. But your sons were not like my son. And then the two men parted, with an angry flush and bitter hearts, and had I not cast between them some common words or other, might not have parted, but have fallen rather into an angry discussion of the value of their dead sons. If I had not pity for all the children of Revere, I should have let them fight it out, and would now have many a wonderful oath to record. The Knight of the Sheep would have had the victory, for no soul that wears this garment of blood and clay can surpass him. He was but once beaten, and this is his tale of how it was. He and some farmhands were playing at cards in a small cabin that stood against the end of a big barn. A wicked woman had once lived in this cabin. Suddenly, one of the players threw down an ace and began to swear without any cause. His swearing was so dreadful that the others stood up, and my friend said, all is not right here. There is a spirit in him. They ran to the door that led to the barn to get away as quickly as possible. The wooden bolt would not move, so the Knight of the Sheep took a saw, which stood against the wall near at hand, and sawed through the bolt, and at once the door flew open with a bang, as though someone had been holding it, and they fled through. Well, people have choice how much the spirits have control over them, but the spirit in speaking was obviously the drink.